Hey, it's Allyson Steinberg, your host, and I'm here just to welcome you to Estheticians in Business, the podcast.
Hey guys, welcome to Estheticians in Business, the podcast. And I'm so excited you're here because this is episode 10. First off, oh my gosh, 10 episodes in. What are we doing with our lives? That's so exciting. But two, we're going to be talking about being cringe. Okay. And I've literally redone this podcast. This is now my third time because I feel like I just want to make sure I'm hitting it where it needs to be hit, that you guys can hear me. So I literally looked up what cringe means because when I personally think of cringe, I think of like feeling icky sticky, right? If you're a toddler mom, you're like icky sticky bubble gum. Like when you are feeling you don't like something or it makes you nervous. And so when I Googled it, it says have an inward feeling of acute embarrassment or awkwardness. When it comes to being cringe, I feel like it's almost like this internal embarrassment that we deal with. But we're going to talk about a few ways that you can feel uncringed, I guess, when it comes to marketing your business. Because I definitely find that a lot of estheticians will get stuck in this paralysis by analysis place where they literally won't do anything because they're constantly analyzing either what they're doing or what somebody else is doing. And they're not actually moving their business in the correct way, that they're not actually like getting their business out there and marketing because of the feeling of being cringe. And let's first start with a mindset shift. I want you guys to remember that sometimes being cringe, actually, I feel like all the times of being cringe, is really this disconnect between what you think your audience wants to see and what you want to put out there. And it's this nerve wracking feeling of like not knowing what they're going to like and what they're not going to like. And so you don't do anything. I feel like social media, especially, it's not about like a place where you just create this comfort zone. It's a place where you actually get to push your comfort zone. And sometimes being cringe is that exact thing that people need to get past their comfort zone and start having people actually see them and have their audience see them and have their audience understand them. And that sometimes it takes being cringe to do that. But we have to remember this is a mindset shift we have to get through first before we talk about like how to get through it, right? So it makes it feel less cringe. All right. So mindset shift one would be marketing is not manipulation, it's communication. And how true is that? Like when we're talking about marketing and we're talking about whether or not we should communicate something because we don't want to one step on toes or we don't want to, hurt someone's feelings or whatever, that sometimes we choose not to do it because of this cringe feeling. But in reality, when you're talking about your business, you have to talk about your business because, like I always say, if people don't know you, then how do they know about you? So you have to go and tell them who you are. That's exactly what I'm saying is you have to tell them who you are. And sometimes it takes being a little cringe to get their attention. And honestly, I think cringe is really depicted by the person individually. But if you don't feel cringe about something, does it matter what everybody else feels? Probably not. So now think about marketing as like matchmaking. I like this one because your job is to show somebody what you have to offer and then they get to choose. That you get to invite them in to choose yes or no to your services, to choose yes or no to your product. And so it moves into this like confidence place because confidence is that clarity that people need. When you feel confident about something you're marketing about, people are going to feel confident about it with you as well. But if you feel put off or you don't want to talk about it, or you want to do those things, then people can also tend to also feel put off and they don't want to purchase, they don't want to do your services because you're not showing up in a way consistently in a way that people are like, they don't build trust with you. Okay. And I feel like there's different types of cringy. Like what I perceive as cringy is somebody who's constantly posting about like, purchase this, buy this, book this, do this. That's gross to me. DMing, hey girl, like that to me is cringy. But somebody that's out there doing a little 1-2 step, doing a little, dance, doing something that is putting them outside their comfort zone to get attention about their business, that's not cringe. That's incredible. That's amazing. That's confidence. That is getting uncomfortable. So it's that mindset shift to notice or to understand that marketing about your business is actually a service for everybody because why wouldn't they want to have your business? Why wouldn't they want to be part of who you are and what you do, right? So remember that when you're putting something out there, like, why wouldn't somebody want to hear from me? I'm like the best, right? You are the best esthetician in your town. So you have to remember that when you're talking about what you do. And that's what makes it less cringy. And a lot of that's just a mindset shift. So let's talk about 3 ways to market without the cringe. First one is talking about telling the stories versus talking about the services, telling a story versus talking about features. Because you can all day talk about, like, oh my gosh, this facial is amazing. This does this, this, and this. But if you don't talk about, like, the feeling attached to it, then how is anybody gonna do it? So here's an example for you. I always love this one. I actually read this on someone's like menu forever ago, and it just really resonated with me. It said something along these lines. Imagine that you've just come back from a tropical vacation, you've used tons of sunscreen, you've been in the sun, you've kind of got a light tan, and now your skin is feeling super dry, tight. It's almost like it's wind whipped, and maybe you have like some cracking going on. This facial is gonna fix that. You're gonna end up feeling hydrated and good and just plump and all those things. And she just goes into depth about this, right? This was her most sold facial because of the story that she told about it. Because people were so excited that they were gonna have this plump, beautiful glass skin face that they were like, oh my gosh, I have to do this. I'm gonna do it. This is what I'm talking about. You're inviting someone into a story versus saying, like, book now, do this, do this, do this, because people don't want that. People want to feel something. Believe it was Maya Angelou, where she said, people don't remember what you said to them, but they remember how you made them feel. And that is the same concept as people remember how you made them feel. So you have to make them feel good, excited, maybe disturbed. Maybe you're making them feel upset or angry or whatever it is, making sure that you make them feel like they need the service you have to fix whatever issue they have. And so you can do this when you're selling online, but you also can tell a story when you're talking to somebody in person. Like, for instance, I talk about this probably pretty often, but my husband and I used to have Second Sunday, which is where every second Sunday we would have a pool party at our house. And I probably talked about this particular story before, but one of my friends who was also my client, she shared with me somebody who had melasma. And my client had also had melasma and we had treated it. So she was like, she has melasma. And I was like, okay, cool. So I went and spoke to that girl and I just was talking to her and I told her I was an esthetician. She told me about her melasma. She had a baby and it just never went away. And I could see that she had melasma. But what I told her was, like, I actually explained to her like the different ways that I had helped somebody before, including one of my friends who was there. And I told her about it. And so I just told her a story. And then I was like, if you want to come in and have this appointment, I'd love to have you. You're absolutely more than welcome to book with me now, or I can just send you some more information and follow up with you. And that's what I did. And she ended up coming in and we were able to eliminate a lot of that melasma in a few treatments because she was able to work with me. But I had to invite her in the potential that she was going to be able to get rid of this melasma. So you could definitely still have that conversation with people and make it very natural. Okay. Without it being like, you should come in, get my facial now. Right. All right, so number 2 is we're gonna use invitations. We're not gonna pressure somebody into it. And you see this a lot on social media where people will offer like discounts and doing all this stuff and like, I need you to come in now. I need you to do this. I need you to, blah. And if you don't come in, your face is you're gonna have tons of acne. Don't use beef tallow or you'll die, right? Like, you need to use invitations where you're inviting somebody to keep something going. All right. Inviting somebody into the life that they potentially could want. So, like, think about this. For instance, if somebody's wanting to come back and book, if somebody's wanting to do something, or maybe they're hesitant, be like, I always recommend I see you in 4 weeks. It really just keeps your skin glowing. It keeps us updated on like your skincare, what we need to update or change anything. And that's where people are like, yes, absolutely. But if you're just like, no, if you don't come in, you'll get acne, then no, you're not going to do that. Right. So you want to make sure you're inviting people in without the pressure and without making them feel crazy. And so the same way that may be on social media where you invite somebody in and you're just like, would love to have you in to do this, this, and this. This would be awesome. Like, you're excited. Same thing if you're in person and you're talking to somebody and maybe they are like, I don't know, or you're talking, not ready to book. You can invite them to be part of your Instagram. You can invite them to be part of your newsletter. You can invite them to come and look at your space or just do a consultation over the phone. You could invite them to be part of what you do on a regular basis. Okay. And so that's where you have to really realize is that, like, when you're talking to somebody, whether in person or online, you're inviting them in to the story of what you have to offer. Okay. And then number 3 is we're going to speak like we talk. We're not going to be saying crazy things like transdermal water loss. We're going to be saying things about like hydration and plump and making our skin, not dehydrated. Okay. We're not going to talk about transdermal water loss. And I always talk about this because this was actually a topic that I struggled with because I realized I was sounding cringe because I sounded so like extra with my words, if that makes sense, but it was literally the language I used. So for instance, I used to say like client acquisition because I have 8 years of education behind this. And so, or 9 years. And so when I talk about this, it was something that was a normal language to me, but to the people I was speaking to, it was like getting fully booked. It was getting clients. It was having people come in. Like it wasn't the same language that I knew, and I had to change my verbiage so that I could speak life into you in a way that you understood. So, my example is instead of saying this product contains hyaluronic acid and replenishes your lipid barrier, because no one knows what that means unless you're an esthetician, you would say this will help your skin stay hydrated so you're not dry again by dinner. I mean, it's so the same concept, but like just one's understandable and one is understandable by estheticians. And so you have to remember that people are humans, so you have to talk like them. You're not at a trade show. You're not going to use a language of an esthetician. Use a language of a human being that understands that. I always think about my client who she literally worked for NASA and she would tell me all these things. And I was like, Lishay, I don't know what you're saying. And then she'd tell me at layman's term, like, oh, she'd be like, this beam. And I was like, oh, okay, awesome, cool. Same person who also literally just talked to me about skincare because she doesn't know about it, but she literally is like this, like, astronaut. She's not an astronaut, but I don't know what she does, but she work literally, I saw her for years, I have no idea what she does, okay? But I was proud of her the whole time. All right. So, anyways, when you're thinking about being cringe, a lot of the time it comes from a perspective that's inside, but it also comes from a perspective of coming at people with a lot of like book nows and do this and discounts. People want to be part of your life. They want to know what's going on. They want to build this community with you that you also have to build as well. Okay. So, when we're talking about being cringe, you have to remember that cringe comes from distraction and disconnection. Confidence comes from clarity. So when you're being cringe, it comes from that connection. Okay. Now, you don't have to be someone else to get booked. You get to be yourself. All right. And then I want you to get people to DM you, get people to talk to you, get people to be part of that. Okay. So, anyways, I hope this was helpful when it comes to being not cringe when it comes to your marketing and that people can love you and support you and be excited for you, even if you're kind of getting out of your comfort zone. But cringiness comes from a mindset, but it also comes from sometimes the words we use, right? So, anyways, happy episode 10. I'm going to drop my Facebook group in the show notes I talked to you guys about. And then always feel free to DM me on Estheticians in Business, on my Instagram, and ask any questions that you have. Okay. So, I will talk to you guys later.